Chosen one, God is producing a surprise for you, something unusual. You didn't encounter this message by coincidence. There is a reason these words are finding you now, at this exact moment, in this exact season of your life. Something unusual is being prepared on your behalf, not loud, not predictable, not following the path you expected. It is different because it is intentional. It is unexpected because it is precise. For a long time, you have sensed that your story would not unfold in ordinary ways. That intuition was not imagination. It was awareness. What is being produced for you does not fit into familiar patterns, and that is why it took time. Unusual things require careful alignment. They require timing that cannot be rushed and conditions that cannot be forced. Before going further, stay with this message until the very end, because each part builds on what came before it. And write your warmest wishes in the comments along with the number 144, not as a routine gesture, but as a conscious signal of openness, a way of aligning your focus and intention as this chapter begins to reveal itself. Chosen one, press the hype button, like this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's start. Now understand this clearly. What is coming is not a response to pressure or desperation. It is not the result of striving harder or proving yourself more. The surprise being produced for you is rooted in purpose, not performance. That is why it feels unusual. You are used to effort leading directly to outcome. But this time, outcome is arriving because alignment has matured. The preparation happened quietly, internally, long before circumstances began to shift externally. There were seasons when nothing made sense, when progress felt delayed without explanation, when you questioned whether your patience had any meaning. Those seasons were not empty. They were protective. You were being shaped to recognize and receive something that would have felt overwhelming before. Not everything that is meant for you can be given to you immediately. Some things require you to become steady first. You may notice that your expectations have changed. You are no longer waiting for something familiar. You are open to being surprised. That openness matters. Unusual blessings often arrive through doors you weren't watching, in forms you didn't anticipate, through timing that feels almost disruptive at first. Disruption is not destruction. Sometimes it is rearrangement. This surprise is not meant to confuse you or destabilize you. It is meant to expand you, to move you out of limitations you adapted to but never belonged in. You were never meant to stay small, contained, or predictable. The path being created for you reflects that truth. Pay attention to how your inner world has been shifting. You've become less reactive, less desperate for validation, more anchored in quiet confidence. These are signs of readiness. When something unusual is on its way, your internal landscape must be stable enough to hold it. Otherwise, surprise turns into fear. You are being spared that. You may also notice that certain desires have softened while others have sharpened. What once felt urgent may no longer matter. What once felt distant may now feel close. This reorientation is intentional. It clears space for what doesn't fit into your old priorities. This surprise is not meant to be rushed into public view. Some things grow stronger in privacy. Let it take shape before you explain it. Let it become real before you label it. You don't owe anyone immediate understanding. There is no need to brace yourself. What's coming is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to support you in a way that feels unfamiliar because it is different from what you've known. Different does not mean dangerous. Different means tailored. Trust that the unusual nature of what's unfolding is a sign of care, not chaos. Precision often looks strange before it looks brilliant. This is not the full picture yet. This is the beginning of the reveal. As this unusual preparation continues, you may begin to sense that the shift happening around you does not demand explanation. It simply asks for presence. What is being formed for you is not meant to be analyzed to death or predicted step by step. It is meant to be received as it unfolds, layer by layer, in ways that confirm themselves through experience rather than logic alone. You might notice that the timing feels almost disruptive to your expectations. Not wrong, just unexpected. This is because what's being produced is not designed to follow the patterns you've already mastered. It is meant to introduce you to a version of life that operates differently, one where support appears without the usual struggle attached to it. That difference may feel strange at first, especially if you are used to earning every ounce of progress through persistence alone. There were moments in the past when you wondered why certain paths closed without warning, why opportunities dissolved just as you thought they were solid. Those closures were not punishments. They were redirections. The unusual nature of what is coming could not have grown in environments shaped by limitation or compromise. Something had to be cleared before something else could arrive. You may feel a growing sense of alertness now, not anxiety, but attentiveness. You are more aware of subtle changes, small openings, quiet invitations. This heightened awareness is part of the preparation. Unusual opportunities often announce themselves softly. They do not compete for attention. They require recognition, not reaction. There is also a deeper understanding forming within you. Not everything meaningful feels dramatic at first. Some of the most transformative moments begin quietly, almost unremarkably, and only reveal their significance over time. This surprise may enter your life in a way that feels simple on the surface, but carries depth underneath. Resist the urge to measure this season against previous ones. Comparison distorts perception. What's unfolding now belongs to a different category entirely. It is not an upgrade of the old, it is a departure from it. That distinction matters. You may also feel a subtle invitation to trust yourself more, to honor your instincts without needing external confirmation. When something unusual aligns with you, it often bypasses consensus. Others may not understand it at first. That does not invalidate it. Recognition often precedes explanation. Allow this process to remain fluid. You don't need rigid plans yet. You need awareness, openness, and restraint. Restraint is not hesitation. It is discernment. You are learning when not to interfere with what is forming naturally. There is no pressure to announce arrival. You are still in the unfolding. Let what is being produced complete its formation before you try to define it. What's coming is not meant to impress others. It is meant to change your life, and it is doing so in ways that are already in motion. As this process continues, you may begin to realize that the unusual nature of what's being prepared is not meant to isolate you, but it may separate you temporarily from familiar rhythms. This separation is subtle. It doesn't remove people or circumstances aggressively. It simply shifts your attention. You start noticing that certain conversations no longer hold your interest, that certain concerns no longer deserve your energy. This is not detachment. It is refinement. What's being formed for you requires a different internal posture. Not urgency, not suspicion, not constant evaluation, but steadiness. You are learning how to remain grounded even when you don't yet see the full shape of what's coming. This ability to stay calm without full clarity is part of what qualifies you for something unusual. Many people panic in the unknown. You are learning how to remain present. You may feel moments where excitement rises and then settles back into quiet certainty. This rhythm is intentional. If everything arrived as constant stimulation, it would overwhelm you. Instead, what's unfolding is teaching you how to hold anticipation without anxiety. That balance is rare, and it protects what is forming. There is also a subtle strengthening of your discernment happening now. You are becoming more aware of what aligns with you and what doesn't, without needing dramatic reasons. You don't require conflict to justify distance. You simply recognize when something no longer fits. This clarity is essential when something unusual enters your life, because not everything familiar can accompany you forward. You might also notice that your definition of success is shifting. It is becoming less about recognition and more about coherence, less about speed and more about sustainability. This shift is not accidental. What's being prepared for you is meant to last, not spike and disappear. Longevity requires a different mindset. At times, you may feel tempted to rush the reveal, to push for clarity, to force decisions, to demand signs. When that urge appears, pause. Rushing distorts timing. What is precise cannot be hurried without losing its integrity. Trust that what is forming knows when to arrive. This surprise is not coming to disrupt your peace. It is coming to deepen it. If something creates chaos before it creates clarity, it is usually not aligned. Pay attention to what brings a sense of quiet rightness, even if it feels unfamiliar. You are also learning that you don't need to fully understand what's happening in order to move forward wisely. Understanding will come later. Right now, responsiveness matters more than explanation. Being attentive, grounded, and open is enough. Let go of the idea that unusual means unstable. Some of the most stable foundations are built in unconventional ways. What matters is not how it looks from the outside, but how it supports you from within. You are not being led into confusion. You are being led into expansion that cannot be boxed into old expectations. And this expansion is still taking shape, patiently and intentionally. As this unfolding continues, you may begin to notice that your relationship with certainty is changing. You are no longer demanding answers before taking steps. You are becoming comfortable moving with partial visibility, trusting that clarity will meet you along the way. This does not mean you are acting blindly. It means you are acting with awareness rather than control. What is unusual about what's coming is that it cannot be fully mapped in advance. It reveals itself through movement, not prediction. You may also sense that your emotional responses are becoming steadier. Things that once triggered overthinking or self-questioning now pass through you more gently. This steadiness is not detachment. It is trust taking root. When something meaningful is being prepared, emotional volatility must soften so that perception can sharpen. You are gaining the ability to observe without immediately reacting, and that ability protects what is forming. There is a quiet strengthening of patience happening now. Not the kind of patience that feels like waiting in frustration, but the kind that feels like knowing something is underway. You are no longer counting days or signs. You are living your life while something aligns alongside it. This balance allows the unusual to enter without disruption. You may find yourself less interested in explaining your process to others, not out of secrecy, but out of clarity. You understand that some things cannot be translated until they are lived. This restraint is wise. Premature explanation can dilute what is still forming. Silence, in this case, is not avoidance. It is protection. Notice how your sense of self is becoming less dependent on outcomes. You are not defining your worth by whether something arrives today or tomorrow. This detachment from outcome does not slow manifestation. It stabilizes it. When desperation leaves, precision enters. You may also feel an internal invitation to simplify, not to reduce your life, but to refine it. To remove unnecessary noise, obligations, or distractions that compete for your attention. What's unusual about what's coming is that it requires presence. It cannot coexist with constant mental clutter. Clarity creates space. There may be moments where you feel slightly out of sync with familiar environments. This does not mean you no longer belong. It means you are transitioning between phases. Transitional spaces often feel undefined. Allow this without labeling it as confusion. It is movement. You are being trained to recognize alignment not by excitement alone, but by calm confirmation. When something resonates deeply, it does not need to shout. It settles. Pay attention to what settles within you. This surprise is not arriving to interrupt your life. It is arriving to integrate with it. Integration takes time. It asks for patience, discernment, and trust in timing rather than urgency. You do not need to force readiness. Readiness is already being revealed through how you are responding now. What is being produced for you is still forming its final shape, and you are meeting it with the steadiness it requires. As this phase continues to mature, you may begin to notice that your inner world feels more ordered, even if the outer picture is not yet complete. There is less internal resistance, less questioning of whether you are doing enough or missing something. This calm is not complacency, it is alignment settling in. When something unusual is being prepared, inner chaos must quiet so recognition can occur. You may also sense that your intuition has become more precise. Not louder, not dramatic, just clearer. You trust subtle signals more than external noise. You notice when something feels slightly off, and you no longer override that awareness out of politeness or fear. This discernment is essential. Unusual gifts require careful handling, and you are being taught how to listen before you act. There is a growing understanding that not everything valuable arrives quickly. Some things arrive fully formed because they were built outside of your immediate awareness. What you are stepping into now has been in motion longer than you realize. That is why it carries depth instead of urgency. Depth does not rush. You may find that your desire for control is loosening, not because you are giving up responsibility, but because you recognize that control was once a substitute for trust. As trust increases, control becomes unnecessary. This shift frees mental and emotional energy that can now be directed toward presence and clarity. At times, you may feel moments of stillness that seem almost too quiet. Resist the urge to fill them. Stillness is not absence, it is calibration. In these moments, alignment tightens, details adjust, and timing refines itself. What feels like nothing happening is often the final preparation before something becomes visible. You are also learning that unusual outcomes often require unconventional patience. Not passive waiting, but active steadiness. You continue living, choosing, growing, without demanding immediate confirmation. This steadiness is not common, and it is one of the reasons you are able to receive what others might mishandle. Your sense of self is becoming less fragmented. You are no longer pulled between who you are and who you think you need to become. That tension is dissolving. You are meeting life as you are, and that authenticity creates resonance with what is being prepared for you. You may notice that certain old fears feel distant now, not erased, but no longer convincing. They surface briefly and pass without taking hold. This is evidence of internal security forming. When fear loses authority, clarity gains ground. This surprise is not meant to destabilize your life or redefine you overnight. It is meant to integrate smoothly, enhancing what already exists, while opening space for what comes next. Integration requires patience, and patience is now one of your strengths. You are not being asked to figure everything out. You are being asked to remain present, responsive, and grounded. What is being prepared for you recognizes that readiness, and it continues to take shape in quiet, deliberate ways. As this unfolding reaches a point of completion, you may begin to realize that the unusual surprise being prepared for you was never meant to arrive with shock or disruption. Instead, it arrives with recognition. A calm moment where something clicks internally, and you understand that what is entering your life belongs there. It feels new, but not foreign. Different, but not unsafe. This is how alignment feels when it is real. You may notice that you are no longer scanning for signs or trying to interpret every detail. The need to constantly evaluate has faded. In its place is a quiet confidence that whatever is unfolding will reveal itself at the right pace. This confidence is not passive. It allows you to engage with life fully, without the pressure of needing to predict outcomes in advance. There is also a deeper sense of stability forming within you. Not because everything is perfect, but because you trust your ability to navigate what comes next. You are no longer dependent on certainty to feel secure. This internal stability is what allows something unusual to integrate smoothly into your life rather than disrupt it. You may reflect on how much you've changed without realizing it, how your reactions softened, how your patience deepened, how your need for external validation lessened. These changes were not random. They were preparation. The surprise being produced for you required a version of you that could remain grounded while stepping into unfamiliar territory. At this stage, you may feel less urgency to arrive somewhere. You understand now that life is not a single destination, but a series of integrations. What matters is not how fast something appears, but how well it fits once it does. Fit creates sustainability. Sustainability creates peace. You are also becoming more comfortable trusting what feels quietly right, even if it doesn't come with immediate explanation. You no longer need everything to make sense before you move forward. Sense-making can follow experience. Wisdom knows when to wait for clarity and when to allow life to teach through living. This unusual surprise is not meant to elevate you above others or separate you from the world. It is meant to align you more deeply with your own path. Alignment brings humility, not superiority. It brings responsibility, not pressure. You are stepping into something that will require presence, honesty, and ongoing discernment. As this chapter settles, allow yourself to receive without suspicion. You do not need to brace for loss or search for hidden conditions. What is arriving is not a test. It is a continuation, a natural next step, shaped by everything you have already lived through. You are not standing at the edge of chaos. You are standing at the edge of something carefully prepared, intentionally timed, and uniquely suited to you. What is unusual about this surprise is not how dramatic it is, but how deeply it aligns with who you have become. And now it is ready to meet you where you are. As you move forward from here, you may begin to notice that the surprise does not demand a dramatic response from you. There is no pressure to react quickly, to celebrate loudly, or to redefine yourself overnight. Instead, there is an invitation to live normally while something extraordinary integrates quietly. This is one of the clearest signs that what has arrived is healthy. It does not destabilize your rhythm. It enhances it. You may also realize that your sense of direction feels clearer, even if the path itself is still unfolding. You are less distracted by side routes that once tempted you. Your focus narrows naturally toward what feels meaningful and sustainable. This focus is not forced. It arises because your internal compass has recalibrated. When something unusual aligns with you, it sharpens your sense of what truly matters. There is a new kind of confidence shaping your choices now. Not the confidence that insists on being right, but the confidence that is comfortable adjusting. You are willing to refine, to learn, to course correct, without interpreting change as failure. This flexibility is strength. It allows what is new to evolve with you instead of locking you into rigid expectations. You may notice that your relationships are subtly shifting as well. Not necessarily through endings, but through clarity. Some connections deepen because they can meet you at this level of steadiness. Others naturally become less central without conflict or explanation. This is not loss. It is alignment in motion. Your patience continues to mature. You no longer interpret waiting as being overlooked. You understand now that timing protects quality. What arrives too early often requires repair later. What arrives at the right moment arrives whole. This understanding allows you to stay grounded even when outcomes are still forming. There is also a growing respect for your own pace. You are no longer rushing to keep up with external timelines or borrowed expectations. You move when it makes sense. You pause when it's wise. This self-trust stabilizes everything else. When you respect your pace, life responds with coherence. You may feel moments of gratitude that don't attach to any single event, a general sense of appreciation for how things are unfolding, even without full visibility. This gratitude is not based on relief, it is based on recognition. You recognize that you are being met where you are, not pushed beyond yourself. As this unusual chapter continues, remember that not everything meaningful announces itself loudly. Some things change your life by quietly becoming part of it. This surprise is not here to interrupt who you are, it is here to confirm you. You are no longer preparing for something undefined. You are learning how to live inside what is already taking shape. And that quiet adjustment is what makes this moment lasting, grounded, and real. As this integration continues, you may notice that your awareness of the present moment has deepened. You are less preoccupied with imagining how things should unfold and more attentive to how they actually are. This presence is not passive, it is receptive. It allows you to recognize opportunities as they arise, rather than chasing them ahead of time. When something unusual is meant for you, it meets you most clearly when you are here, not elsewhere. You may also sense a growing comfort with uncertainty. Not because uncertainty has disappeared, but because it no longer feels threatening. You understand now that not knowing everything in advance does not mean you are unprepared. In fact, it often means you are adaptable. This adaptability is one of the quiet strengths being refined in you. It allows you to move with life rather than against it. There is a subtle easing of pressure in how you approach decisions. You are less likely to frame choices as permanent or catastrophic. Instead, you see them as steps, meaningful, but adjustable. This perspective reduces fear and increases clarity. It allows you to act thoughtfully without becoming immobilized by the desire to choose perfectly. You may notice that your inner dialogue has become more supportive. Where there was once criticism or urgency, there is now encouragement and patience. This shift matters. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you interpret what unfolds. When your inner voice is steady, external changes feel less destabilizing. Your sense of trust is also evolving. It is no longer focused solely on outcomes, but on process. You trust that even if something doesn't look the way you imagined, it can still be right. This trust keeps you open to forms of fulfillment that exceed your expectations rather than merely match them. There may be moments when you reflect on how different this feels from previous turning points in your life. There is less chaos, less emotional intensity, more coherence. This does not make the moment smaller, it makes it sustainable. What is meant to last often arrives quietly. You are also becoming more skilled at recognizing when to engage and when to allow space. Not everything requires immediate action. Some things need room to breathe. This discernment prevents you from interfering with what is unfolding naturally. It allows timing to do its work. As you move through this phase, you may feel a gentle strengthening of purpose. Not a dramatic mission statement, but a clear sense of direction that guides your choices. You know what aligns and what doesn't, even if you can't always explain why. This knowing is enough. What's important to remember is that the unusual nature of this surprise is not meant to isolate you from life. It is meant to help you participate more fully in it. To live with greater awareness, steadiness, and authenticity. You are not being rushed into a new identity. You are being invited to live more honestly within the one you already inhabit. And that invitation continues to unfold quietly and faithfully with each step you take. As this chapter moves toward completion, you may begin to recognize that the unusual surprise was never about a single moment or event. It was about a shift in how you inhabit your life. What has changed is not only what is unfolding around you, but how you are present within it. You are no longer standing on the outside of your own experience, waiting for permission to begin. You are inside it now, participating fully. You may notice that your confidence feels quieter, but deeper. It doesn't rely on constant reassurance or visible proof. It comes from having lived through uncertainty and discovering that you remained intact. This confidence allows you to move forward without tension, knowing that even if circumstances evolve, you are capable of adapting with clarity. There is also a growing sense of continuity. You are no longer dividing your life into before and after with sharp edges. Instead, everything feels connected. What you endured informs what you are building. What you are building honors what you endured. This integration brings peace because nothing feels wasted. You may find that your relationship with anticipation has softened. You are no longer waiting for something to finally begin. Life feels active now, even in its quieter moments. This presence transforms ordinary days into meaningful ones, because you are no longer postponing fulfillment for a future version of yourself. Your discernment continues to guide you gently. You know when to engage, when to pause, when to let things unfold without interference. This balance protects your energy and preserves momentum. You are not forcing direction anymore. You are responding to it. There may be moments when you look back and realize how much has shifted without dramatic markers. The absence of chaos does not mean the absence of change. Some of the most profound transformations occur quietly, reshaping your inner landscape first, and allowing the outer world to follow naturally. You are also becoming more comfortable with simplicity. You don't need constant stimulation or affirmation to feel secure. This growing ease with simplicity allows your energy to settle, making space for clarity, depth, and sustained growth.